I'm back. I ended up having some other stuff I needed to do last week, but this week I am ready to start building the face for my newest life-size sculpture. So I've got this wig form here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by painting her eyes and getting those inset into her face so that I can kind of sculpt around them. So I made a really detailed video a while ago about painting eyes, and so I'll link to that. But basically what I'm doing is I just have two of these little flat glass marbles that go in your flower vase. And what you want to do is you want to choose two that are basically the same shape. You want them the same size, you want them round, and you want them to be pretty clear and free of like imperfections and stuff. So this is a really good pair. I'm going to use these, but just to kind of show you an example, some extreme examples, like you wouldn't want to do this one because it's really oblong. I mean, you could, you know, but if you want realistic human looking eyes, you don't want like a really oblong one like that. This one is like really, I don't know if you can see that, but it's like really shimmery, which could be kind of cool, but again, not as realistic, so I'm not going to choose that one. And then these I'm saving. They're super cool. They'd be great for like cat eyes or something because they have this like weird little ridge on the back. So in manufacturing, you know, sometimes you'll get these little imperfections and they can be good for other things, but if you're going for like really realistic human eyes, probably not the ones you want to use. Yeah, but I found my pair that I'm going to use. I'm going to go ahead and just paint them on the back with nail polish, and then once that's dry, I'm going to glue them onto my wig form and sculpt around them. And like I said, I'll link to that video where I showed you kind of really in detail how to paint the eyes, but that's what I'm doing today. Alright, so I got my eyes painted up and I'm ready to mount them into my wig form so that I can sculpt my lady's head around them. So I ended up doing the eyes a little bit different than what I said before. I originally painted them on these, and I do think they came out nice, but they were just like, this is really reflective, and so you can't really see the pupil as well. I think I had kind of used up like some more of the clear marbles that I had, and a lot of the ones that are left are just, they just kind of have too much shimmer going on, so you can't actually see the eye that well. So I think maybe I'll go ahead and just use those for flowers from now on and, you know, get some new ones. But I had these large ones, and normally I don't use these really large ones for sculptures, but I'm gonna try it out. I went ahead and I painted the iris the same size as these smaller ones, and then I just painted the white of the eye around it, and I'm just gonna sculpt her eyelids over the top. And I actually think it might work out better, so we're gonna see how it goes. But yeah, I've got both of her eyes done. Now I need to mount them into her head. So we have our wig form here. It's already got some like little rounded protrusions where her eyes would be. And so we don't want to glue them right on top of that, otherwise she'd be looking really bug-eyed. So I'm gonna go ahead and carve those out, and then there'll be a nice little recessed socket to put those eyes in. So what I'm gonna do, I have this. It's just a hot wire foam cutter, and it's just this wire in the middle. It gets hot, and that will carve your foam away. So I'm gonna go ahead and just carve that out here. Here we go. The other one. Bam. All right. So now that I've carved the extra material away, it's time to mount the eyes, and basically what I'm doing is I'm gluing them. You could probably use something just like E6000 glue or something like that. Today I'm going to actually be using liquid stone. It's another Polygem epoxy product, and it is the best glue ever. It's amazing. It's probably overkill for a project like this, but I have so much of it and I love using it for sculpture, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. But it's a two-part epoxy, and you mix it together, and it's the strongest glue that exists. It's better than JB Weld, it's better than liquid nails. It's the best thing I've found. I actually fixed the handle of the tailgate of my truck with it. The handle broke, and it's held up for over a year now. And you know, my truck is just parked out in our south-facing driveway, so you know that it's getting lots of sun and everything, and it's held up really well. So if you have any kind of a fix that you need, I would definitely recommend the liquid stone. Okay, so with the liquid stone, what we do is we take equal parts of it and we mix it up. And it's really easy to mix up way more of this than you actually needed. So I just start with a little bitty bit there. And then you either want to use a different tool or make sure you clean off your first tool really well before you put it in the other side. You definitely don't want to be mixing these two parts of epoxy except for when you're ready to actually use it, because otherwise it'll be all dried up in the container and you don't want that. So I just got about equal parts. I've got my palette knife. You could probably do this with, you know, I use a Bondo scraper sometimes, or a screwdriver, or you could probably even use like a butter knife or something. Just anything that will let you kind of dish it out and mix it up really well. And you want about a 1-to-1 ratio. You're going to mix that up until it is all mixed up, all one color. Because mixing the two parts together is what allows it to cure really well. All right. And then with these lids, you can really just set them on top. You don't have to like hammer them down or anything. As long as the two parts are not mixed together in the can, they're gonna stay good to go. I've had this epoxy for over a year and it's still good. I just keep it inside where it's nice room temperature. It's not getting too hot. All right, I think I'm gonna need something to hold her up so that she doesn't roll over on me. There we go. And I'm just going to take my liquid stone, take about half of it and put it on the back of this eye here. Need to get a little bit up on the edge too, so that it will really stay in there. And I'm just kind of setting them down in there, but another thing you can do is you can, if you need to kind of pin something in place until the glue dries, you can use hot glue at the same time. So if you use hot glue and the liquid stone or E6000 or whatever you're using at the same time, the hot glue will kind of clamp it in place temporarily until that glue dries, until the really good glue dries, because hot glue is kind of not that good, but it'll hold it for a minute. Oh, that one's kind of falling down. Should have used some hot glue on that. I think we're going to make it work though. I'm just going to get some tape. Alright, I had to go on an adventure to find some tape because I thought it was right here, but it wasn't. Yeah, so I am going to go ahead and just tape it because it takes a while for the hot glue to warm up, for one, and for two, there's already all this goop all over this, so it's not going to stick anyway. So I am going to get that where I need it, and I need to get a little bit of alcohol to clean that off because it's kind of got some goop on her eyeball. All right, we're just gonna leave that right there. This liquid stone will probably take, a couple hours to cure up properly. So I'm just gonna leave her right there. All right, so that liquid stone epoxy cured up and my eyes are all mounted in there, and I went ahead and started sculpting around them just a little bit with some Easy Sculpt, which is a new epoxy that I'm using. These are all Polygem products. They're all great. I like the Easy Sculpt because it's a little bit less sticky than the Easy Carve, and it's just kind of easier to handle. But after I started sculpting on this piece for a little bit, I realized that I wanted to change her eyes. Her eyes are looking straight forward, and I actually wanted her to be kind of looking up and off to the side a little bit, because like her head's going to be kind of down and then she's going to be looking at the viewer. So I'm still going to keep this one. This will end up being a different sculpture at some point. But I went ahead and redid her eyes, and I just kind of did the same thing with the flat marbles. Hold on, how did they go? Here we go. Yeah, so I did the same thing, but they're just kind of looking up and off to the side. And now I'm getting ready to mount those into a second wig form that I've got. And I'm not gonna do the liquid stone this time just because, like I said before, it's overkill. So I actually am just gonna do hot glue, because once I put the epoxy in, that's gonna really cement it in there, especially once the eyelids are covering up her eyes and everything. It's gonna be solidly in there anyway. It's not gonna need, such a fancy epoxy. Yeah, so what I've done is, I already started this before I started filming. I'm like notorious for that. I'll end up just getting so into what I'm doing that I'll just do it and then I forget to film. But what I did was I actually carved out, with this hot wire foam cutter, I carved out an entire chunk of her face, because it's easier with this really long wire to just get it all at once. And then I cut out her nose, the bridge of her nose, and I'm putting that back in, which is a lot easier than what I was trying to do before. Yeah, so I've got my hot glue, and I'm just gonna glue this back in there, glue that little chunk back in there, and glue her eyes in there. And then it's gonna be time to start sculpting her face, which I am super excited for. Let's get started. didn't 100% finish sculpting her face, but I got a lot done and I'm really happy with how she looks. She's looking kind of mischievous so far. So I really like that, and I feel like these glass eyes worked out so much better than any others that I've done in the past. So I'm definitely going to keep using the large glass marbles and painting the white of the eye too, because I used to kind of just do the iris and then I would like sculpt the white around it. But it makes so much more sense to do it this way. I can't believe I never thought of it before. It's funny how you just kind of get used to doing something one way and then you just don't change sometimes, even artists. But yeah, I think this worked out so much better. Her eyes like really follow you, as you know, since they're kind of behind that rounded surface, they like really follow you. Yeah, so anyways, I'll keep sculpting on her some more next week. Yeah, I didn't quite finish everything this week because I was working on a mural proposal and I ended up having to redo her eyes like 3 times. But it was worth it. I really love how her eyes look. It makes me happy. So thanks for hanging out this week. Yeah, I hope you all have an awesome weekend and hopefully see you next week. Maybe the week after. We'll see how it goes. Please like and subscribe. That would be awesome. Bye!